Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Leilul Nishmas Imi Merosi Rusbas Mordechai. I would like to show you a very, very inspiring picture here. This is the bar mitzvah of Yochanan, check it now, who is doing the daf with the rebellion since Brochus Daf Beis. You hear that? Brochus, again, he's only 13 years old. He finished the third of Shas, and he's being messiah by his bar mitzvah Mesechtes Yevamis, the hardest Mesechta in Shas. Asim on Yevamis at his bar mitzvah in Borough Park. Thank you for the inspiration by his father Aryeh. Checking out. We have here some of the MDY Chevra went to be Msameach in this tremendous simcha. Like always gives me nachas when these kids do it. It's unbelievable. They made him feel a little uncomfortable in that picture. We have another Yoeli Halevi Dapot. This email is written to you. Obviously, what you read is your decision. I usually try to write only one email per month, but circumstances have called for secondary correspondence. Someone screen recorded you reading the broomstick joke and it went absolutely viral. Even my Lakewood siblings who don't have smartphones got it in a form of SMS message. When I say viral, I mean every single from smartphone has received this forwarded clip. Obviously, there are a minority of people that are being critical. Well, this is not my intention, and it comes along with bushas for me and for you, which is always a good kapara. I would like to point out that I have no regrets. Thousands of people who never listened to anything MDY has to offer now heard this 1.5 minute joke. 5 people that I know of personally have said that they will start listening to Yishir daily now that they have been exposed to this vibrant atmosphere of MDY. And those are only the people that I happen to know of. There are surely many more. So what if my father calls me up to rail me out? So what if my Rosh Chabura called me a Mukas Eitzka? So what if it takes me longer to marry off my oldest daughter who just came back from seminary? Rabbi Isai, our first shidduch is going to be Eli Doppel's daughter. Everybody wants to be married to Eli Doppel's daughter. I think I said this before. When my friend's father got killed in a car accident and I went to Cincinnati and I spent days over there. And then I called my father and I said, do I need to come back to yeshiva? And yeshiva, they're going to think I'm crazy. In the middle of the Zman, leaving for... He says, why are you doing it? L'shem Shamayim, because you want to have fun. I said, L'shem Shamayim. So he said, L'shem Shamayim, you can't hurt your shidduchim, stay. So I stayed. And what happened was that when I was read to my wife, my shver went to the Rebbe in Chaim, Berlin, and the Rebbe didn't have very nice things to say about me when it came to learning. But he said, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you, he went once and he did all this chesed and he took care of his family for weeks. So my shver said, oh, that's the guy I want. I don't care about the learning, I want that. Anyway, they're going to say, oh, yeah, but Yoeli Doppelt, his daughter, this Yoeli Doppelt who brought thousands to Torah. I had the intention of sharing the Milsa de B'dichus with Al-Cheret to help spread Torah and Kavod Shamayim. It was not my intention for this to be shared the way it was, but I'm happy to reap the benefits of more Torah and more Kavod Shamayim. Yoeli Halevi Doppelt. Rabbi Isai, here we have Eino Yehudi. We'll call him a Knani. For today's Gemara, they're Knanim. And Yitzi Jablansky, who's a lieutenant also in the New York NYPD. So it seems like the Olam is doing the daf. Here we go. Nice and loud.
Did you do the daf already today?
Yeah. Good morning, Rabbi.
Okay. Here we have 2 emails from women. This woman I know, Eli Lebovic, DNP, FNP, PMHNP, and CSC. That's her title over here. Nachamol. She's a DNP, FNP, PMHNP, and CSC. It's not a joke. It happens to be that I stayed by their house. We knew them from Eretz Yisrael. We lived together in Arze, and we stayed by them they live in Lawrence. So we stayed there, and her husband gave me a tremendous amount of chizuk. I mentioned this before once, but I'll say it again. The entire Shabbos, the guy was steiging away. I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm doing dirshu tests. And he introduced me to the whole dirshu concept, which I use today for the koilel, and I actually right away went and I started doing dirshu then. I saw a guy that's a balabas, but that's completely immersed in learning. The entire Shabbos, learning new chazaras. So she says, just sharing a photo of my nephew, Hil Karetzik, and my son, Meir Lebovic, steiging in Camp Aguda. Thank you for the continued inspiration. All the best. Huh? Karasik. Shkoyach. Here they are. I don't know how they got a tablet there. That's the Olam is wondering, and I get a lot of emails about this tablet that we have. A lot of emails. I don't know when it's coming out. It's kind of ready. It should be ready. Here's another one. Thank you, Rebelli, for your shiurim. A life-changing experience. My husband is truly hooked to the NDY family every day. My husband comes home zonked after hard days of work, but will never give up your shiur. 2 weeks ago, we traveled to Israel. Mendy was very excited to visit your live shiur, but unfortunately, it was between July 4th and 11th, and you weren't in town. But still managed to grab a non-posed picture while hard at work on the plane. Thanks for changing our life. Toby and Mendy Greenfield from Manchester. Rabbi side, the wives are very proud, and that's why you should learn in front of them. It changes everything, it changes the whole thing. Ephraim Birnbaum. I was by your share on Tuesday morning this week. The way so many people welcomed me, especially Mendy Auerbach, was truly heartwarming. No, I just stuck that in. Being a guest, he's very nice. He does. He's like, come because he's the guy sitting right next to the guest, and I saw him do it this morning. It's truly heartwarming. Being a guest, they made sure I had a front row seat right next to you. I see what you mean. It's like one big mishpacha, a big kiddush Hashem. They made me feel at home. You're a big shalom aleichem to all guests. It's a wonderful bein adam chaver plus. I love this shir and I'm happy that I was zoich to be. I think the plus goes to the other thing because there's a comma after a period after. Person America's Daf Yomi building. The shir was clear and interesting. It's definitely worth a 50-mile round trip from Kiryat Sefer. Every day, people. Where are you coming from, Tzaddik? Efrat. Shalom aleichem. What's your name?
Donnie Abramoff.
Donnie Abramoff. Shalom aleichem. So how Efrat is also pretty far away. Half hour. I don't know how many miles. It's a trip. People coming from Yerushalayim almost. Anybody from Yerushalayim today? Rosner every day. Okay, you don't count. And he takes a bus, 2 buses to get it from Yerushalayim. Double? What do you say?
Counts twice.
Double counts. Counts twice. Hashem should give you the physical mitzvahs. Ephraim Birnbaum, father of Yosef Birnbaum for North Woodmere, not Woodmere. He's the guy that single-handedly put together a group of 40 guys on WhatsApp and big chabur in North Woodmere, not Woodmere. The koilel, Lili Nishmas Zechariah ben Moshe. The Parasach Mesechta is Lili Nishmas Moshe Elazar ben Nata Shalom and Lili Nishmas Yosef Baruch ben Moshe Aaron and the hatzlacha b'chol anyanim for my children. The second Mesechta sponsor, Jeff Razin, zchus of my son, Simcha Chaim ben Sarah Chana, Refuah Shlaima. Parasach Chodesh, by Lock and Lebovic families, Lakewood New Jersey, because Torah is the best segula. Parasach Chodesh has zchus for our children to be kadosh, safe, healthy, happy, and Hashem loves them. Parasach Chodesh number 3, Shragi Chafetz RL, Rockaways and Lawrence, they want to say, but no. 149 is zchus for my family, myself, and for the Tzaddikim of RL Hatzalah. Parnas Shavua, Akilov family, Lili Nishmat, Eliyahu ben Bakhamal Akilov. Bakhamal. The Braun kids, in honor of the best mommy in the world, happy birthday. I know these kids are young because they spelled honor, Honer. In honor of the best mommy in the world. Imagine your 5-year-old sponsors a share for you. The Olam knows the Chashivas over here. And then we're going to get an email. No, that was my 26-year-old who learned Panovich. Golden Dove Alert in honor of the 3 special bubbies who with their husbands, contributed so much to the Yishkai of Pittsburgh. This is obviously from Fishel, the Wilkes Barre and Detroit, Miss Beverly Gross, Miss Rena Schoenfeld, Miss Razel Snow, on the birth of the great-grandson born to Baruch Leib and Nechama Gross. A little brother to Chaim, Basi and Esther, and another Golden Dove. You're asking me, why does he get such a long one? Because he sponsored the whole Masechta. Yaakov and Jody Herber, Fishel, sponsored by Fishel and Sarah Lee Gross. He could do it as long as he wants, as long as it doesn't take away from Shir. Wow, Baruch, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. Invi Agefen, Vimvi Agefen. All right, Rabbi Sai. When they say Kesubos is a Shas Katan, they weren't joking. Today's sugya is so gishmak, and it'll give you Yisoidis for all of Shas. Says the Mishnah. Daf Yudalid Amud Beis. Moshe Zeret had a granddaughter. Mazel Tov Moshe. Mazel Tov. The official Mishnah, sponsored by Moshe Cohen for that hatzlacha with Limud Torah and Parnasa. Yeah, I know. I just didn't want to be that one. Omar Rabbi Yosi. Maisa b'tinoikesh yorda l'malis mayim in ayin v'nensa. A very tragic story. a young girl went down to fill water from the spring and somebody violated her. Omer Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, Im roiv anshe ir masim likuhuna. We go by the roiv. Now, the pasuk says, Achrei rabim lahatois. It teaches us that midoraisa, we go by the roiv, we go by the majority. If most of the people in the city are kosher people, then we could assume that this Rasha is one of the koshers. His zchus is kosher, he's not a very good person. So therefore, she can marry a kohen. Lu Yitzuyur, it wasn't a kosher person. Let's say it was a non-Jew, it was a Knani, call him Knani today. If it was a Knani, or idol worshiper. There's a lot of interesting things going on with idol worshippers. So we have to call it an idol worshiper, a Knani, the Gemara calls it. The censor took out the word and stuck in Knani. So if, let's say it's a Knani, it's a non-Jew, then she would be puzzled to a Chaim. We have to assume that most of the people there are Jewish, so the violator was a Jew. Says Rav to Rav Nachman to his Rebbe. What's going on here? Based on what we learned yesterday, we had a machlokes between Reb and Gamliel, that if a woman is pregnant and we don't know who the father is, Reb and Gamliel says we believe her in all situations. It doesn't matter how many people, the roiv this way, that way, it doesn't matter. Even we said before, even if roiv puzzle, we trust her. According to Rabbi Yeshua, that we don't trust her, even most of the people in the city are Jewish, we don't trust her. So what's the difference? What is going on here? Amalei. Rav says Rav. B'krainoi shel tzipari haya maisa. Here's a picture for a second. So just to explain a little bit, we have a da'iraisa that tells us that we go with the roiv. We go with the majority. It's a pasuk. Achirabim lahatos. So how in the world could Yeshua say that even if the whole city are Jewish, the roiv is Jewish? No, we don't trust her. Why not? There's a roiv. The Torah tells us always go with the majority. If you have 9 pieces of meat and then 1 piece is treif, you eat it, right? Roiv. So how come you don't trust this woman? So the Gemara tells us that what's going on here is we have a major problem. So Shas Katan, we're going to be discussing today halachas of roiv and how it works. Don't fall asleep on me. These are geschmacka stuff. There's a major concept when it comes to roiv that completely destroys the roiv, and that's the concept of kol kavua kemechza al mechza dami. If the people or the things, the objects are stationary, if you're talking about a store, you're talking about a house, you're talking about people living in a place, then they become grounded. What's the word? Not grounded. Stationary. Stationary, grounded, stationary. And therefore, it switches it from a majority to only 50%. And 50%, 50 is asr. So therefore, says Rav, we are talking about a situation where you have 2 roivs. First of all, you have the roiv of the city. He's talking about in Tzipori, because he lived in Tzipori, so he says, we're talking about the kronos of Tzipori. What happened was they would bring in product on the market day. They would come in with their trailers, with their kronos, with their trains, with the wagons, whatever that you want to call them, the wagons, let's say. They would come in. That's not stationary. That's a moving object. That's something moving. So once it's moving, then you do have a roiv. However, that's not enough. Because a moving roiv, you have to say it's not good because you might get confused with a stationary roiv. But if I have 2 roivs, then I use the roiv. Okay. Midaraisa, 1 roiv, you go with the 1 roiv, majority. But 1 roiv is enough. But in this case, 1 roiv is not enough because the roiv is batal, because they are stationary. So you don't really have a roiv. So let's use another roiv. In conjunction with another roiv, the stationary roiv will work. In other words, and it's not stationary because we don't know if the guy came out of Tzipori or the guy was from the moving caravan. So maybe we have two rives. Two rives, in this case, we're gonna say that this girl is kosher l'kuhuna. Okay? Because each rive by itself has a problem. If you take the two rives together, so now we have two rives. The Gemara is going to describe what the problem is in each rive. What? Sharper? I made here this chart. You don't see it? You want another one? I have no idea. Somebody explain. You don't have an idea. Anybody? Okay. Nope. He wants better charts. So you make the charts. I'm looking for somebody. I actually texted Yoshi last night. I said, I need a chart of Tesha Chanuyas. And he texted me back at 1:30. He's like, I just got your message. I said, don't worry about it. I got it. Fine. I didn't do a good job like he would do, but he said, he told me, I'll do it. Like for future. I said, it's something that we use all of Shas. Okay. As long as you have a caravan of people that are portable, they're moving, they're movable objects, the whole train moves, the whole car moves, then you have a roiv. If this woman she had bia on top of the train, she's kosher l'kuhuna, asked the Gemara right away. On top. It means together we have a second roiv. Now we have a roiv that's moving. If you only have, if you know that this guy came out of Tzipori, even though you have this caravan going on, Havlad Shtuki. Why? Because since we know where he emerged from, he came from the city, that's not enough for us. That's only one roiv, and one roiv is not enough in this case. We need two roivs. Omar Ziri, Omar Chanina, Omar Chanina. V'amri lo Omar Ziri, Omar Chanina. Straight to Reb Chanina. This is a problem for us. This says that we go by the city, we'll go by Tzipori, and we don't go by the moving object. We just said that the logic is the opposite. Moving object roiv is much better than a stationary object. Right? So what does it say here? We go by the stationary, and we don't go by the moving. Klapelaya, asked the Gemara, it's mamish punkt fakert. It's the opposite. What are you saying? Hani naidi, the moving guys, v'hani kvi v'kaimi. When they're kavua, then we go to, the majority turns into what? 50-50. Called kavua kemechta mechta dami. Right, this is all the raisas. The halacha that we go by the roiv is the raisa. The halacha that tells us that it's stationary, there's no logic here. We're not looking for logic. It's just a law. That if it's stationary, it becomes a 50-50. Not good enough to paskin with. Ella, holchem acharoiva ir. When do we go with the city Tzipori? Only if, on condition when there's another roiv, a moving roiv. We'll never go with just the city alone. That's stationary. But we won't go with a moving roiv. Why not, ask the Gemara? At the end of the day, they're not kavua. We said if you have a city that's stationary, I can ruin the roiv by making it stationary, and it's no longer a majority. It's only 50-50. But a moving bus is not 50-50. People that come off a moving bus, since they're moving, it's a majority. So let's say somebody from the bus violated her, he came off a majority, and the whole bus are Jews. It says Hoffman on it, whatever, the Torah's Eged, I don't know what. So we're going to say Muncie Tours in America. So most of them, okay, we don't want to give real examples there, chas v'shalom. But this violator guy, Al pi halacha, he's a yid. And a yid doesn't pass a likahuna, no matter how bad the act was. Says the Gemara, you're right. Gzeira. My time gzeira roiv siya, otu roiv v'ir. People are going to get confused between a bus and a city. They're going to say, if the bus, coming off a bus, the kid is kosher, the woman is kosher likuna, so too coming out of a city, they're going to get confused. They're not going to. So no matter what, we say that we don't go with the roiv over here.
The suffix is we don't know who it was, or the suffix is we don't know who the person is.
We don't know who the violator is, a Jew or a non-Jew, a kosher or a apostle. So we go with the roiv. Most of the people in the city are Jews. It has to be a Jew. Most of the people on the bus are Jewish. It has to be a Jew. But a city has a problem. They're kavua. They're stationary. The whole city is considered a stationary kfiyas.
But we know he either came out of the bus or he was from the city. We know where he was from.
No. Mefurish, the Gemara says, if we know that he came from Tzipori, then she's puzzled. Hold on, I'm not done yet. If we know, that's what the Gemara said before. If you know that she came, the problem is we don't know where the guy came from. He came off the bus or he came from Tzipori. Now we have two roivs that we can work with. But if you're only working with one roiv, in other words, you know for a fact, Tzaddik, come here, you got to come here, you're a guest. Kim Tzaddik, we have a seat right next to Avi. So if, yeah? You hear what I'm saying, Avi?
People from the bus are in the city. The bus shows up to the city, so you have a mixture of people on the bus.
That's what happened.
Right.
It was a mixture of a bus and a city. Now we don't know where it comes, so we can use two roids. If you know 100% that the guy, you see in the video a guy coming out of the city, let's say no bus showed up. A bus didn't show up, just the city, that's one roiv. End the story. I'll move this to the side so I don't block you. Shalom Aleichem, what's your name? Sharifer? Sharifer. From where?
Lakewood.
Shalom Aleichem, how you doing? Thank you for coming. We're coming, we were starting to make a comeback with the Lakewoods. Says the Gemara, we're in the middle of a muridik sugya of roiv, a shas sugya. Says the Gemara, v'roiv yirnami. Oh, no. Okay, Rabbi Isai, please. No talking aloud here. Thanks. My time exer roiv sia atu roiv ha'ir. V'roiv yirnami, says the Gemara, idiko azli inu legaba. Ask the Gemara a question. If we're just going to look at the city, you could put that chart on the screen for a second. If we're going to just look at Tzipori at itself, forget about the bus that showed up. A stationary city called the Parish Meruba Parish. If she went outside of the city, she walked outside and she met him, so now she is separated from a roiv. And now we have a problem. Why do you need two roivs? One roiv is enough, called the Parish Meruba Parish. Why does he require two roivs? Says the Gemara, Leitzricha deka'azla I legabayu. What happened is the Havale Kavua. The man went into Tzipori. In other words, what the Gemara is saying is follows. It's possible both ways. We don't know what happened. It's possible a woman goes outside, she meets him, so she's parish. She separated herself from the majority, and therefore it's a majority. Again, we went from kol kavua kemechza mechtzadami. Stationary is only 50-50. Says the Gemara, it's not stationary. Maybe she went outside and then it goes back to the majority. Says the Gemara, yeah, but maybe you went inside and then it's a 50-50. But since we don't know, so we have to erase this possibility that maybe she went outside. So no matter what, even if she did go outside, even if we do know she went outside, we have to be geyser, maybe he went inside. All cases, we have to be geyser. Sometimes the man goes into Tzipori, sometimes the woman goes out of Tzipori. You're right. Technically speaking, if she goes out of Tzipori, there should be a majority. But we have to be geyser. Maybe she didn't go out. Maybe he went in. So we never use that roiv. Just like...
I'm bothered why we don't take it that Sfekas. That's what I'm bothered.
Which one? Sfekas? What?
Yeah. And she has a hatzlacha. So
yeah, okay. I can't get into that. Sfekas and ukme and you're going to add a lot of stuff. Okay, I hear. The Gemara is not saying he went. The Gemara is saying since he could go, it ruins, we have to be concerned of that case that he might go into Tzipori and therefore it's what? Stationary, kavua. And kol kavua, we lose the roiv. Rabbi Yankel Galinzi and Rabbi Yosef were giving drushes and trying to be mechazik the olam in Torah. So Rav Yosef was a little upset at Rabbi Yankel Galinsky. He said, why are you darshaning that people should be kovei itim and only learn an hour a day, 2 hours a day? Yid is chayiv to learn Torah all day long. Coming from Rav Yosef, who learned Yom V'Layla. So Rabbi Yankel Galinsky told him, if a person is kovei himself in Torah, learns Daf Yomi every day, kol kavua kemechza mechtzadami. It's as if you learned half a day. That's what I'm going for. I'm going for the half. Okay, and I saw this brought down in the Paris of the same thing, same kind of idea in learning that a person can say about himself that he's learning half a day. Great. There was a guy. They asked him, "What do you do?" He said, "I'm a half a koil guy." I said, "Wow, you learn half a day?" He says, "No, I just don't work." Zog the Gemara. Took a few seconds. Poke fun at the koil guys. I learn in koil. Many learns in koil. Poking fun at you. He's actually a half. Are you half a day? You're 3/4. At least 3/4. Okay. Zog the Gemara. And he has a rive. His rive is a Rubik Kulai. Says the Gemara. Yeah. Bomber is there? Yes, we did that. Ask the Gemara. Oh, now we're getting Gishmak. Why do you need 2 rois? Here we go. Here's the picture that Yoshi didn't do. You have, I don't know if you could see it clear, but in the middle there's like a store that goes like this, and I wasn't sure because I know I couldn't put a mamish chazer because people go crazy. But it says over here pork and imports. But you have the store in Ditmas, meats and poultry. I don't know if it's still there, but when I was a kid, it was always there. And then you have all these kosher stores. 9 kosher stores, 1 store. Every time I learn this Gemara, today, if you're Bells and you eat badats, you're like a shegitz. And if you're from Bnei Brak and you eat Landau, you're this and that. Kids, nobody eats this after that after. Here's a piece of meat. You see it sitting there right in front of the pork store. You're 100% allowed to eat it. Why? Because I'm going to assume that it came from one of the other stores that are the majority. Now, I remember seeing this, but I couldn't find it today. The Pischei Tshuva, and I looked in Pischei Tshuva, wasn't there in Kuf Yud Aleph, I think it was Kuf Yud Aleph in Yeridea. Couldn't find it. If somebody knows where it is or who it is. He says, if you don't eat it, you're not Bikairis. Like a starke Lashon. In other words, Chachamim were Masakin, you could eat it. Where's the Stempel? Where's the Plumba? Where's the Badat? No, it's one of the 9 stores. So they say, in those days, there was this, Super Machmer, and this. Today, even the Hachsherim, Treif Chazer, whatever. Okay, fine. Whatever they go into the things, they'll explain it to you. But it's not Ruby Kasha today. They're all Shkatzim and Muslim. I used to work in meat. Fine. 9 stores are kosher. One is Mamish Treif Chazer. So this is a different story. He walked into the store. What are these stores called? Kavua. They call Kavua Kemechza Mechzadami. So therefore, you don't have a majority. You just lost the majority. Even though it's 9 kosher, it's only 50% kosher. Why? Because the stores are kavua. And therefore what? The meat is treif chazer. 50% is not enough for us. But, if the piece of meat is sitting on the sidewalk, it's not kavua. Great. There's a zug that's very important, I think. A guy went to buy like a sandwich from somebody. When I used to be in Indianapolis every day, they said, the J is kosher. And I was thinking about it. It hurt me a lot afterwards. Like I went in there and I ate a hamburger. I'm looking around. All the employees there are non-Jews. Where's the mashgiach? No, it's kosher. It's kosher. And I asked people, yeah, it's kosher. But so the guy comes into one of these stores. Says, "Where's the Echshi?" He says, "Look, Baba Sali's on the wall. I fear Baba Sali." He said, "Listen, if Baba Sali was selling me the meat and you were on the wall, I would buy it. But it's the opposite. I think it's a big aside. You walk into these places, look around. What's going on here? Who's in charge? Yeah, it says on the kosher, but you really trust that guy? Okay." Okay. Did I say this? Yes, if you find the sidewalk, if you look at the picture, so we have the city that has not that picture. Oh, it's my thing to do. This it's a secured city. So let's say the Gemara says, what if the doors are wide open? Now we have two rives. You could add all the people that live around the neighborhood over there, they're all Jewish, and that city. So now we have a double rive. No, that doesn't help us, says the Gemara. So the question is, how come by us you need two rives? Says the Gemara, Maila asu biyuchsin. By us, we're trying to marry off to a Kayan. That we're always very machmir, and we go and we say that she's not kosher for a Kayan unless we have a double rive. Gufa. Anytime we just learned that anytime you have something that's stationary like the city, it's only a 50%, even though most of the people in the city are Jewish. Bein lekula, bein lechumra. When it tells me that lekula, in other words, I could eat a piece of meat on a sidewalk, that's a kula. If it was only the Rabbanan, they cannot be makel like that. The fact that I'm telling you I could be makel based on a rule, on a law, on a halacha, that tells me it's a doiraisa. So the Gemara is just going to say, where do we see this? And we're going to go through simple cases here. And this is the style of the Gemara. The Gemara knows this is not a good raya. It's obvious from within the lashon that it's not a raya. But the Gemara just goes, let's just take care of all business and we'll get to the bottom line at the end. Where do you see a kula? I see a chumrah. When I tell you I can eat something, that's a chumrah. When I tell you you could eat something, it's a kula. One of the stores sells nevela. And he bought from one of the stores and he doesn't know which one. Sveikai asur. That's asur. Ubenimtza halach achar aroiv. Says the Gemara, hasam lechumra. Here, let's check this story out. You have the Shmoyne Shratzim. From the Shmoyne Shratzim, we have something called a tzav. A tzav, I always like to point out, it's not a turtle in Hebrew. A tzav means a turtle. It's a toad. What's fascinating is a toad is a sheretz. One of the 8 shratzim, if these shratzim die, and you touch them, you become tamei. But if a cockroach dies, and you touch it, you don't become tamei. But not only a cockroach, even a frog. A frog, this is based on the art school. If a tzav is a toad and a tzfardeh is a frog, you could have two things that look almost identical, and you touch one, you become tamei, the toad, which is in this picture, or the frog. So look what happened. You have 9 shratzim. And the guy touches one in between. He's a slightly off color, in white. It says it's not a sheretz. And he doesn't know what happened. So again, the tzvardeya is not a sheretz. The tzav is a sheretz. And the guy touched one. He doesn't know what. He is tamei. Says the Gemara. We still didn't answer the question. This is a chumrah, not a. You tell me it's tamei, it's a chumrah. So the same story but reversed. Okay? Not in this picture. You have, did I say? Yeah. Metisha shrotzim. No, I messed it up. The first, the Metisha tzvardim, this picture is not good. The first, it's this picture. Before we're talking about tzvardim, tzvardeya is not a sheretz. Okay? The wrong picture at the wrong time. It's supposed to be now. Elametisha tzvardim. This is what we're trying to come to, and this is the final thing. When you have 9...
You messed up this Kermit the Frog. Really, the other way.
I don't know that's Kermit. I don't know who Kermit is. I never watched this in my life, Bemis. I don't know about this stuff. I grew up without a TV. Oh, this is a TV show? I really didn't watch it. But, yeah. Elametisha tzvardim nachamal. No, so it was good. The first one is... No, okay, because I'm holding later. You have 9. No, should we say it again? Okay. 9 frogs and 1 sheretz. V'noga be'echod mem. V'noga sveki tamei. Hasim namei lechumra. Ela metisha shrotzim. Here, this is the picture. You have 9 no goods. In other words, 9 toads. V'tzvardei echod b'neim. Oh, it's good. You're saying this works. This is Kermit? Oh no, Kermit is the green guy. I got it. Okay, fine. Fine, I should have put this. See how much I know? I should have put the loy sheretz on Kermit. I got it. Okay. Amoritz. Mamish Amoritz. I'm proud to be an Amoritz, right? You have no idea either what's going on here, right? The Kermit, not Kermit. I know. I grew up in Bnei Brak. Now, what should be? You have all shratzim, but one of them is not a sheretz. So l'chayra, it should be roiv, and roiv should tell you that you touched the sheretz, and now you are tamei. But that's not the case. What we're saying is it depends where you are. Another huge concept in the halachas of Tumah and Roiv. If you have a suffix in Rishus HaYachid, then that suffix makes you Tameh. And if you're in Rishus HaRabim, you are Tar. So what do you see? That you don't go with the Roiv. Fine. So you see, even you use it Likula. Says the Gemara, and how do you see this in the Torah? Omar Kra. Here's the pasuk. You hate somebody, and you ambush him. You kill him. But first you have to know him. You what is it called? I was thinking about you this morning. It's like first degree murder. You knew who you're killing. You wanted premeditated murder. It was premeditated. So the Tanna Kama says it has to be premeditated, and you have to know what you're doing. So Nachamal, yeah. I'm just going back for a second. In the case of Tzvardim, I guess it's because it's Kavua and we see Mechza. Fine, okay. Says Gemara, Omakra, Varav loy v'kamalav. Achiskaven loy. Reb Shimon says you have to have kavana to kill a person. So in other words, if you did a drive-by shooting, you're in a car and you're trying to kill somebody, a yid, and you killed another yid, you're not chayiv. Loy. You have to have kavanah for him. Rabbanan Amri, the Bei Rabbi Yanai. Prat l'zorek even l'goy. Rabbanan say, no way. If you did a drive-by shooting and there were two yid in there and you killed one yid by mistake, you're chayiv. So what is the pasuk talking about? Varav loy. There's a group of people and there are non-Jews and Jews involved. Call them Knanim, not non-Jews. Knanim, terrible idol worshippers. If he killed the Jew, but mostly there were the Oivdi Kachavim, so he's potter, because most of the people he threw it, he had no intent to kill the Jew. He was trying to kill the idol worshipper. Inami palgo palga. And even if it's 50-50, Safek Nefashis Lahakel. Here we have another pasuk. When it comes to killing somebody, capital punishment, we have to look and overturn everything. We have to go mamish likula. So even 50-50 we can't kill. There's 9 Jews, 1 non-Jew, and he killed the Jew. We call kavua kemechza al mechza dami. The reason we don't kill him, even though there's nine Jews there, and he shot at the 9 Jews, and he killed the Jew. But since there's one, he flips it into a stationary, and a stationary is 50-50, and in a 50-50 we don't kill him. Why? In the name of Rav, going back to how we started off today from the Mishnah, the terrible story, the girl went to the spring and somebody violated her. So he said that if the roiv of the city are Jews, she's kosher l'kuhuna. The halacha is like Rabbi Yossi says Rav. Now we have to understand what's going on here. What happened in the Mishnah? There's 1 roiv or 2 roivs. Remember the Gemara explained there's 2 roivs. It was chronos, a caravan showed up with a bus next to a city. But in the Mishnah, as we read it as is, there's only 1 roiv. Says the Gemara, we don't know about this pshat yet. Omar Rav, Rav Chanan bar Rav Omar Rav. Now, another Rav says in the name of Rav also, Hiras Shah Haisa. Our Mishnah is one special circumstance, a crazy story that happened. Either Rashi says we had other evidence, or is a time and place where we had to use one rive? Masav Rabbi Yirmiyah, what do you mean you only use one rive? You need two rives. But nan, again, so the Gemara right now is understanding that the Mishnah, as is, when you read the Mishnah, you don't know anything about a caravan, you don't know anything about a bus with wheels, that it's moving. You see that there's rive. Rabbi says, if there's a rive, there's a lot of Jews in the city, she's mutter lekuhuna. It only talks about one rive. So right now, when we're going back into the sugya, we're thinking that there's only one rive. But the problem is, it seems like we need two rives. Vasnan, it says in the Mishnah. Wow, I need to show this to you, share this with you, my Gemara. What my Gemara looks like today. It's a maze. I don't know. It basically, I put these pieces of papers there to remind me to say stuff, because if I write it in my Gemara, I forget. No, I don't want you to zoom in, because then you'll know all my jokes and everything. I go like this. Okay. Fine. If a person finds a baby laying he finds a kid without parents. If most of the people that live in the city are non-Jews, he's a non-Jew. The Gemara is going to explain for what. Imrov Yisrael, most people are Jewish, Yisrael. Mechza Yisrael. And even if it's 50-50, he is a Jew. Sponsored by Moshe Horn in honor of Rabbi Tzimidetsky, the only Rebbe that was actually good at basketball. Oh, and I forgot to put the other one. Yankel Cohen, the official MDY MSP. What's the other one? It wasn't so good. Okay. It was in honor of Eli Stefansky, the real only basketball player in the world. The real greatest Jew. Okay, fine. Yeah. No, I can't say it because no one played ball with me. It's like, I wasn't even the best on the court. Yeah, they can say whatever they want. Any sheker they want. Fine. We don't have time for jokes now. V'amarav. Here's the problem. Rav says, Lo yishonu elo lahachayoisoi. Here, we have a pasuk that says, V'chei achicha imach. You mechuyev to support and sustain every yid in the world. Everybody has the right to be sustained. In other words, if you are in a city and most of the people in the city are Jewish and you find a baby in the street, what halacha does the baby have? Well, you have to save him. 100%. You have to support him, sustain him. But he cannot, if it's a girl, she can't marry a kohen. Let me ask you a question. There's a roiv, we go with the majority, most of the city is Jewish, let her marry a kohen. What's the answer? One roiv is not enough. We just said that according to Rav, one roiv is enough, and now we see that one roiv is not enough. How come by a baby, this girl in our Mishnah, that got violated? At the spring, one roiv is enough. What's the answer? We already explained, it's two roivs. That's one way to explain it. Ushmuel Amar. Now, just to say this about Peh, Rav is going to hold that one roiv is not enough. Again, one roiv is not enough. So either our Mishnah is talking about there are two roivs, that's why this girl by the spring can marry a kohen, or it was Hayra Shah. Those are the two things. But one roiv is not enough, and that's all the Gemara is going to say now. Ushmuel Amar Lifakeach olav esagal. Okay, this is a Ma'aser Shaya. We had a guy that wrote into the shir that he's in Hawaii, he's not from, and he's mamish loving the daf. He got a free Gemara, he's loving it. The next day, he wrote, I hate you guys are terrible people. I read it, I think. We learned this sugya, Lifakeach olav esagal, that it's not permitted for a Jew to be Mechal Shabbos to save an idol worshiper. Idol worshiper. He says, Hayitachen, I'm a firefighter, and I save people all day long. And how do you do it? And in fact, it's a big shaila for hatzlacha, for doctors. An idol worshiper comes in, and you go on a call. How are you allowed to take this guy to the hospital? He's an idol worshiper. Okay? Is that on Shabbos I'm talking about? On Shabbos only. That's what we're talking about. L'fakech is a gal on Shabbos. Of course you save him on a Sunday. There was two roivs. There was also the bus. But according to Rav Chanan bar Rava that says it was a special situation. Now we just explained this two rives. In other words, it's always enough with one rive. Just in our Mishnah, we need two rives. Why? Because it's a special situation. So if it's a special situation, but always you need one rive, so how come right over here Rav said one rive is not enough? If you find a baby and it's most of the city is Jewish, that's not enough, says Rav. We don't consider him a Yid, he can't marry. She can't marry a Kayan. But we just said in the Mishnah you could use one rive. The only reason why we're not using one rive is the Rosh Shah. Says Gemara. And over here, it's also a Yuchsin. So we're talking Adarabah. We're talking about over here in the Mishnah. Which one? Fine, one over the other. Says the Gemara. Yeah, that's Rakashia. Says the Gemara, Man de masnaha, loy masnaha. If you say harasha, that's a special situation, you're not going to say that there's a caravan coming in. So in other words, then we're talking about only one rive. So it's harasha. Let's take harasha. It's a special situation. And one rive is enough. But meaning in generations to come, you need two rives. And that's exactly what Rav just said over here. Rav just said, if you find a baby in the street, even though it's mostly Jewish, it's not enough because for generations to come, you need two rives. The Mishnah that said that one rive is enough is talking about harasha. Or you're going to answer that the Mishnah is talking about two rives. Depends how you want to go. Gufa, matzbatinik mishlach. Here's a freebie. You found a baby in the street. If the city is mostly non-Jews, idol worshippers, idol worshippers, we consider the baby idol worship. In Rav Yisrael, Yisrael. Mechza, 50 Yisrael. That's only to sustain him, to keep him alive. If she is a girl, she can't marry a kohen. So, Umiyomar Shmuel Achi. V'amar Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Ein holchem b'pikuach nefesh achar roiv, v'chai bahem. What if there's a little bit of chance that it's a Jewish kid? You have to be Mechal Shabbos. V'chai bahem. Elokit ma Shmuel areishet mar. Im roiv oiv. If most of the city are idol worshippers, he's idol worship. Amar Shmuel, v'kech of zagal, ein a kain. Adarabba. You hear firefighter wherever you are in Hawaii. You're supposed to save even an idol worshiper. Forget a guy. Even an idol worshiper you're supposed to save because maybe there's a chance. In and what's the nafkemina? If you treat him as a guy, at the end of the day you have to save him from a pile of rubble. You feed him treif chazer. Says the Panavitcherov on this Gemara. Look at this. Here's a kid. You just Mechal Shabbos. You called in all the biggest Rosh Hashivas and Rebbes in the world. They have to pick up put the strammel down, and start going through the rubble to save this kid. Once the kid comes out, you feed him chazer. So what do you see from here? The value of a Yiddish neshama. That on the Vaita suffix, maybe on the small chance that he's a Jew, you eat it, chazer, you can eat la'alacha. But let's save him on Shabbos. Be Mechal Shabbos for him. To give him back, lost and found. Rashi says an incredible thing. Rashi says that it's also to give back an Aveda to Oived Kachavim. However, if there's a Kiddush Hashem, like happened in Skokie Yeshiva a few months ago when the doors of the money truck opened up on the highway and everybody's chopping money, but the yeshiva guys gave it back and it's caught on camera and they made a whole big stink out of it. Yivaldik. There's a story, I know that it's late, we'll just say the story real quick. There was a Paritz, a true story. A Paritz announced, whoever finds my wallet gets 100 zuz, 100 rubles. So a Yid found it, and he gave it back to the Paritz. Says the Paritz, you're a Ganav. I had 2,000 rubles in here, and now there's only 1,000. It was a trick to get out of paying him the 100. Not only that, I'm going to sentence you to who knows what. He brought him to court. And the Yid said, it's because he's over on this pasuk. He shouldn't have returned it. But I'll call upon him. His lawyer got up and said, I want you to swear that there's 2,000 in this wallet. So he swore there's 2,000 in the wallet. He says, if there's 2,000 in the wallet, it makes no sense that the Jew should return it at all. He should have just kept it. If he's stealing 1,000, he should have stole 2,000. So Elamai, he's not stealing, so it's not your wallet. So mainly you have to give it to him. And the judge paskined that the Jew gets it. Azai Zakman, Amaisa Shaya. Zak the Gemara. Merza Yisrael Amayuchasa, and why is it Afkamina if it's 50-50? Or Shlakish, Lin is Zakin. The halach is like this. If a shar, a bull of a Jew, gores a idol worshipper's bull, he's potter. Now, if an idol worshipper's bull gores that of a Jew, he's chayiv even if it's a tam. And the Rambam explains, to explain it logically, because we go with their laws. Those are their laws. If an animal is mazik another thing, they say you're potter. So Mela, we're going to go with their laws when it comes to them. So Mela, what happened over here? What's the case? Let's say the Jewish bull gored his bull. I don't want to pay you anything. So what happened was his ox gored our ox. Palga Mishalim. He pays half because it's tam. Vidach Palga Amalu. I see right. You want to treat me like a non-Jew and take out of me the full amount. I see right. The Lav Yisrael. You prove to me that I'm not Jewish, and then I'm chayiv to you the whole thing, and that's why we consider him 50-50. Hadran Alach Besula, Hadran Alach Besula Nises, Hadran Alach Besula Nises, Hadran Alach Besula Nises. Have a wonderful day.